As you live your life every day, as you walk through life, as you learn new things, as you live by every day, you begin to meet new people. You begin to meet people who you thought were impossible to exist, impossible to actually live. And I don't mean that like in the positive side of it. I mean that in the negative side of it. Wherein you didn't think that it's possible for people to be that evil, to be that bad, to be that insensitive. And you begin to wonder and you begin to question whether that they're necessary people or that they're necessary evil. I'm not saying that we should kill them or anything like that. No, no, no. I'm saying is there such thing as a necessary evil in this world? Do we need to have this evil people? When I say evil, I mean those people who actually don't really care about other people's concern, other people's well-being, and other people's health. They just care about themselves. They just care about their own benefits. They just want to save their own butt or anything like that. And you begin to question, once you meet this kind of people, you begin to question whether it's necessary for us to experience this kind of evil. Is there such thing as a necessary evil? And once you try and answer it, I mean, we can look at it in different ways, right? And one of the ways that we can look at it is by seeing it as necessary. By seeing it as a necessary thing that will shape us, that will shape our character, that will shape us as a person. And if you look at it that way, I think that's the most positive way that we can look at it, right? Because sometimes when we see this kind of people, when we encounter this kind of people, we begin to question life itself. We begin to question life itself for its purpose. What's the purpose of meeting this kind of people? And as absurd as this may sound, but everything that we do, every people that we encounter, everything or every decisions that we make, all have their purpose, all have their consequences, right? And I don't know if you believe that, but I personally believe that. And most likely they will lead up to something either great or something that's horrible. And it's something that I genuinely believe in. It's not exactly like a butterfly effect or the chaos theory, right? And it's not something that a lot of people will believe in, that small things will lead up to great things, that even the smallest inconvenience will lead to horrible things. And meeting such evil people can lead up to you even ruining your own life, right? That sounds absurd, that sounds ridiculous, but it can happen, and it happened to some people. Because it depends how you handle, how you look at it, and it will greatly affect your own views in life. It will affect how you deal with people. And it's something that I think you should be aware of. And because a lot of times you're unconsciously being affected by those people, by your views. And you might ask, how can we determine an evil act? How can we determine if something is considered evil? I mean, we all have our standards for it, right? I mean, I think that's common sense, right? When we see something that's branded as evil, we see it immediately. We know it's evil because we have our standards of good and bad, as I've talked about for my previous video, the morality versus ethics. And it's one of the standards that we use, or there are some standards that we use to determine which is which, right? Which is evil, which is not. And it's not something that I think that's essentially needed, right? Well, I'm talking about, the necessary evil. Because for me, although I can't really like quantify it, I can't quantify the amount of people that did it good compared to did it bad. But I mean, if you look at it that way, if you look at it this way, right? When you see necessary evil and you know it's evil and you deem it necessary for your own character, for your own development, then that's great, right? Because you know how to handle it. You know that it's just something that you can use as a stepping stone to be better, to develop as a person, to be the best version of yourself, to use it to your own advantage. Those kind of people, right? You tolerate them maybe or handle them differently. But what if those kind of necessary evil, they might be something that you didn't notice or something that you won't notice in the future? And what if you're unconsciously being affected by those evil and they're harming you? They're affecting you in the most negative way possible. They're affecting your development, your character negatively, right? And you might hate the world for it because of those kind of things. You might hate people. You might hate some people because of that, because of those necessary evil. And, I am aware that I'm talking in the broader spectrum of it, that I'm talking broadly, right? I'm not being specific or of what necessary evil I'm talking about. And I mean, I can give an example, like, the people that you meet, right? And while they are not like technically an evil person or evil people, they do some things that are bad and evil. While they're not totally evil, they have tendencies to do things that are insensitive, that we consider evil, right? And I don't know if you've met some people like that or if you know some people like that, but there are people like that who are not completely evil, but they do evil things, necessary evil. And I don't know if that made sense, but it did in my head, but I just hope it did in yours as well. But if it's something that you think is harmful, if you think that is something that's inconsiderate to other people, if you think it's something that actions that only care about that person, and it's harming other people, then that's evil, right? And what my point is, if you think that that's a necessary evil, that's a necessary and considerate act, what do you mean by that? When I say like necessary, as I've said earlier, necessary evil wherein they are necessary in a way for you to develop as a person, and not just for you but other people as well. And that's a genuine concern, by the way. I'm asking whether you think that there is such thing as a necessary evil, that there's such thing as a necessary evil people, something like that, to shape who we are. The things and people that we encounter almost every day. And do you think that they are necessary for us to be better, for us to be the best version of ourselves, to handle ourselves better, to control our emotions better, to be better than them, in general? And I don't know, it's just something that I thought based on. I just want to talk about it because I, uh, I've I've been talking to a friend of mine who's been going through a lot of stuff, a lot of things, and the main cause or the main root of those problems comes from a single person. It's something that I did not think that that's possible for a human being to do. To be there. What I'm saying, to be there, to exist. No, to be. What am I saying? Wait. Let me gather my thoughts first. I did not expect nor realize that there are people like that. That there is such a person who's inconsiderate to that level, who's evil to that level, who's possessive to that level. And I don't know, it's just, and because of that story, I began to question whether there is such thing as a necessary evil for us to develop, for us to be better, for us to shape our character, for us to be better than them. Because how do we brand something as better compared to the other? Right? We can only say something's better if we have a reference, right? If we have a standard to compare it to. And that's where my thought of necessary evil came from. Because if we compare something, right? If you compare one thing to another, almost all the time there is a better one, right? And if we apply that in real life, there's also such happenings. There's also things like that happening, and not only in things but also with people. Am I saying that there are better people compared to other people? Yes. That might be controversial, but there are. I mean, of course, relative to our standards, relative to our set morality, relative to our set ethics, right? There is such better people compared to other people, right? Relative to our standards. And of course, great examples would be like prisoners, right? Prisoners that did bad things, that disobeyed the law, right? I mean, that's just one example, but there you go, an example. And that doesn't only mean that they have to commit crimes to be worse than other people. No, we can also use that set standards to the everyday people that we meet, how they see the world, how they treat other people. Because I mean, being mean to someone, being inconsiderate to someone is not an offense, right? It's not a chargeable offense. It's not something that you will be jailed for. It's not something that you will be imprisoned for. And yet it's something that we consider bad, right? And it's the severity of it that separates the two. And I don't know where I'm going with this topic, but I hope it did make sense. I just hope it did. And I don't know. Like, I'm genuinely curious what to think about it, whether you think that there is such a necessary evil or not. Is there such thing as a necessary evil for us to be better, for us to shape our character, for us to be better than them? Or they're just like that, just the way it is. It is what it is, right? And let me know what you think about it. And you can hate on this as well if it didn't make sense to you. And I think that's about it. Stay awesome.